You ever notice how the kindest people always seem to attract the cruelest friends? The ones who give the most end up with people who take everything. The ones who radiate light. And here's the part that keeps you up at night. You saw the red flags. You felt that weird energy the first time you met them. That little voice whispered, "Something's off." But you ignored it. You gave them the benefit of the doubt. You thought maybe they were just going through something. Maybe they needed your light to heal. And now? Now you're exhausted, drained, wondering why every close friendship you build eventually turns toxic. Why the people you trusted most are the ones who hurt you deepest. Let me tell you something that's going to sting at first, but will set you free. This isn't happening to you. It's happening because of you. Not because you're broken, not because you're naive, but because of something far more powerful. Something most high-vibe people never realize they're doing. Think back to your last toxic friendship. The one that left you feeling like you'd been emotionally mugged. Remember how it started? They probably seemed amazing at first, right? They mirrored your energy perfectly, laughed at your jokes, shared your values, made you feel seen in ways nobody else did. It felt like fate, like the universe finally sent you your soul tribe. But then, the cracks started showing. Small at first, a backhanded compliment disguised as concern, a moment where they made you feel guilty for having boundaries. That time they trauma dumped on you for 3 hours but had no time when you needed support. And you made excuses for them. They're just stressed. They don't mean it like that. I'm probably being too sensitive. You dimmed your light to make them comfortable. You over-explained yourself to keep the peace. You became smaller so they could feel bigger. Until one day you woke up and realized you don't even recognize yourself anymore. The person staring back at you in the mirror looks tired, anxious, second-guessing everything. That natural confidence you used to have? Gone. That joy that used to bubble up effortlessly? Buried under layers of people-pleasing and walking on eggshells. And the worst part? You feel guilty for even thinking these thoughts. Because they're your friend, right? They need you. And good people don't abandon their friends just because things get hard. Here's what nobody tells you about being a high-vibe person. Your energy is visible. Not in some woo-woo mystical way, though that's real too, but in a deeply psychological, primal way that people pick up on instantly. When you walk into a room, toxic people can feel your light. They sense your emotional stability, your inner peace, your ability to regulate yourself when life gets chaotic. And to someone who's drowning in their own darkness, you look like a life raft. But here's the trap. You think you're helping them heal. They think you're a resource to drain. You see potential in them. They see supply in you. You believe in transformation. They believe in transaction. You're giving from overflow. They're taking from desperation. And this is where the real damage happens, not in the taking itself, but in what you do to keep giving. Let me paint you a picture. Maybe you'll see yourself in it. You meet someone new. They're going through a rough patch, bad breakup, family drama, career crisis. Your empathetic heart immediately wants to help. You listen. You offer advice. You make yourself available at 2 a.m. when they're spiraling. And it feels good, doesn't it? Because you're being useful. You're living your purpose. You're being the friend you wish you'd had during your dark times. But then something shifts. They start calling you only when they need something. Your conversations become one-sided therapy sessions where you're always the healer, never the healed. They get weirdly competitive when good things happen to you. They make subtle digs that leave you feeling confused. Did they just insult me or compliment me? You start noticing a pattern. You feel worse after spending time with them, not better. Your energy is lower. Your mood is heavier. You need hours of alone time just to recover from a single coffee date, but you don't end it. You can't, because somewhere along the way, you made their healing your responsibility. Their happiness became your job. And if you walk away now, you'd be abandoning them. You'd be the bad guy. So you stay, and you shrink, and you give, and you drain yourself dry trying to fill a cup that has no bottom. Now here's the part that's going to hit different. The reason you keep attracting these people isn't because you're too kind. It's because you're afraid of being seen as unkind. Read that again. You're not attracting toxic friends because you're a good person. You're attracting them because you need to be perceived as a good person. There's a difference. A truly secure, high-vibe person can hold boundaries without guilt. They can say no without over-explaining. They can walk away from draining relationships without making themselves wrong for it. But you've tied your worth to your usefulness, your value to your availability, your goodness to your sacrifice. And toxic people can smell that from a mile away. They know you won't leave. They know you'll make excuses for them. They know you'd rather betray yourself than risk being called selfish. So they take and take and take. Not because they're evil, though some are, but because you've trained them that your energy has no price, that your peace is negotiable, that your boundaries are suggestions, not laws. And here's the question that's probably burning in your mind right now. How do I stop this? How do I break the pattern without becoming cold, without losing my empathy, without turning into the very thing I'm trying to avoid? That's exactly what we're about to uncover, because the solution isn't about building walls. It's not about becoming guarded or cynical or shutting people out. It's about something far more powerful, something that will completely transform not just who you attract, but who you allow to stay. So let's talk about what's really happening beneath the surface, because this isn't just about bad luck or poor judgment. This is about an energetic contract you didn't even know you were signing. Here's the truth that most spiritual teachers won't tell you. High-vibe people don't just attract toxic friends by accident. They attract them by invitation. Not a conscious invitation. You're not sitting there thinking, gee, I hope someone comes along and drains my soul today. But an energetic invitation, a signal you're broadcasting that says, I will sacrifice myself to save you. And that signal? It's rooted in something deeper than kindness. It's rooted in wound. Let me ask you something, and I want you to be really honest with yourself. When was the first time you learned that your worth was tied to what you could do for others? Was it a parent who only showed you affection when you were being helpful? A childhood where love felt conditional, where you had to earn it by being the peacemaker, the caretaker, the one who never caused problems? Or maybe it was later. A relationship where you learned that if you just loved them hard enough, if you just gave them enough of yourself, they'd finally change. They'd finally see your value. They'd finally choose you. Except they didn't. And instead of learning that some people aren't meant to be saved, you learned that you just didn't give enough. You weren't patient enough. You weren't understanding enough. So you tried harder, gave more, dimmed your light further. And that pattern? It followed you into every friendship after that. Here's what's happening on an energetic level. When you meet someone new, you're not just exchanging words and smiles. You're exchanging information. Your nervous system is scanning theirs. Your subconscious is asking, are you safe? And here's the kicker. Familiar doesn't mean healthy. Familiar means recognizable. So when a toxic person shows up with their chaos, their neediness, their emotional instability, your system doesn't run. Instead, it whispers, oh, I know this. I know how to handle this. This is where I'm useful. Your trauma recognizes their trauma. And instead of seeing danger, you see purpose. You see someone who needs you. And being needed, that feels like love. That feels like belonging. That feels like proof that you matter. But it's not love. It's reenactment. You're trying to rewrite an old story where you weren't enough by being everything to someone who will never see you as enough. You're trying to heal an old abandonment wound by refusing to abandon someone who's actively hurting you. And the cruelest part? The more you give, the less they respect you. Because people don't value what costs them nothing. Now, I know what you're thinking, but I'm not doing this consciously. I genuinely care about these people. I genuinely want to help. I believe you. I know your heart is pure. I know your intentions are good. But here's what you need to understand. Good intentions don't protect you from bad dynamics. You can be the most loving, spiritually evolved person in the world and still be completely blind to the ways you're enabling toxicity. Still be completely unaware of how you're helping is actually harming both them and you. Because real help doesn't deplete you. Real love doesn't require you to abandon yourself. Real friendship doesn't leave you feeling like you need a vacation from the people who are supposed to energize you. When you're constantly drained, constantly walking on eggshells, constantly managing someone else's emotions at the expense of your own, that's not friendship. That's codependency wearing a spiritual mask. And here's where it gets really uncomfortable. Part of you likes being needed. Part of you likes being the savior. Because as long as you're focused on fixing them, you don't have to look at what's broken in you. As long as you're managing their chaos, You don't have to face your own. As long as you're the strong one, the stable one, the one who has it all together, you don't have to admit that you're scared, that you're lonely, that you don't actually know who you are when you're not being useful to someone else. The toxic friend becomes a distraction from your own healing, a way to avoid the deeper work of asking, why do I believe I'm only lovable when I'm suffering for someone? And this is the part where everything shifts, because once you see this pattern, really see it, you can't unsee it. Once you understand that you're not a victim of toxic people, but a participant in toxic dynamics, everything changes. So what do you do with this awareness? First, you have to grieve. And I mean really grieve. Grieve the friendships you thought were real but were actually just transactions. Grieve the version of yourself who believed that love meant sacrifice. Grieve the time and energy you poured into people who were never going to pour back. Let yourself feel the anger, the betrayal, the embarrassment of realizing you ignored every red flag because you were so desperate to be chosen. Don't spiritually bypass this part. Don't jump straight to, everything happens for a reason, or they were a teacher. Feel the loss. Honor the pain. Because on the other side of that grief, that's where your power lives. Here's what starts to happen when you stop running from the truth. You stop seeing boundaries as mean. You start seeing them as sacred. You stop over-explaining yourself. You start trusting that no is a complete sentence. You stop making excuses for people's behavior. You start believing them the first time they show you who they are. You stop waiting for toxic people to change. You start changing your tolerance for toxicity. And here's the most beautiful part. You stop attracting them altogether, not because you've built walls, not because you've become cold or guarded, but because you've changed the signal you're broadcasting. You're no longer available for reenactment. You're no longer a character in someone else's drama. You're no longer sacrificing your peace to prove your worth. And when you shift that internal frequency, the people who used to be drawn to your light for all the wrong reasons, they can't even see you anymore. You become invisible to takers, irrelevant to users, uninteresting to energy vampires, because you're no longer leaking the desperation they feed on. But there's one final piece to this puzzle. One crucial step that separates people who understand this from people who embody it. The shift doesn't happen overnight, but it starts with one radical decision. You stop making yourself small to make others comfortable, not aggressively, not with anger or resentment, but with a quiet, unshakable knowing that your energy is not a public resource, that your peace is not up for negotiation, that your presence is a privilege, not a right. This is where most people get it wrong. They think setting boundaries means becoming harsh, building walls, cutting people off without explanation, turning into some cold, detached version of themselves. But that's not boundaries. That's just another form of reactivity. Another way of letting toxic people control your energy just from the outside instead of the inside. Real boundaries are calm. They're clear. They're consistent. They sound like, I'm not available for that conversation. Not, I'm not available for that conversation because you always make everything about you, and I'm sick of it. They sound like, I need to go now. Not, I need to go now, but let me explain for 15 minutes why I have to leave, so you don't think I'm a bad person. They sound like silence, like not responding to the bait, like letting someone be upset without making it your emergency to fix. Here's what happens when you start practicing this. The toxic friends get confused. They're used to you chasing, used to you over-explaining, used to you absorbing their emotions and handing back solutions wrapped in empathy. So when you stop doing that, when you just don't engage, they escalate. They'll guilt trip you. Wow, I thought you were different. They'll gaslight you. You're being so sensitive. I was just joking. Why are you making this a big deal? They'll love bomb you. I'm sorry. I don't know what I'd do without you. You're the only person who really gets me. And this is the test. Because your old self would crumble, would apologize, would convince herself that maybe she is being too harsh, too cold, too selfish. But your new self? She knows better. She knows that someone who truly values you doesn't need to manipulate you into staying. She knows that real friends don't punish you for having needs. She knows that love doesn't feel like labor, so she stays quiet. She holds the boundary. She lets them be uncomfortable with her growth. And one of two things happens. Either they adjust, they realize you're serious, and they start showing up differently, or they leave. They find someone else whose boundaries are still negotiable, whose peace is still up for grabs. And both outcomes? Both are wins. But here's the deeper work that most people skip. You can set all the boundaries in the world, but if you haven't healed the wound that attracted toxicity in the first place, you'll just attract a different version of the same person. Different face, same energy. So you have to go inward. You have to ask yourself the uncomfortable questions. What do I believe I have to do to be worthy of love? What am I afraid will happen if I stop being useful to people? Who would I be if I wasn't constantly needed? These questions will crack you open. They'll make you face the parts of yourself you've been running from, the emptiness you've been filling with other people's problems, the unworthiness you've been trying to disprove by being everything to everyone. And when you sit with that discomfort, when you stop numbing it with busyness and people-pleasing and savior complexes, something extraordinary happens. You start to meet yourself, the real you, not the performed version, not the palatable version, not the version that contorts herself into whatever shape keeps the peace, the you who has preferences, who has limits, who doesn't need to earn her place in people's lives by being endlessly available. And that version of you, she doesn't attract toxic friends because she's not operating from lack. She's not looking for external validation. She's not trying to prove anything. She just is, whole, complete, unapologetically herself. Now, let's get practical. Because awareness without action is just entertainment. Here's what you do starting today. 1. Notice your patterns. When someone reaches out, check in with your body before you respond. Does a part of you immediately feel obligated, guilty, anxious? That's information. That's your system telling you something's off. 2. Slow down your responses. You don't owe anyone instant access to you. Let messages sit. Take time to feel what you actually want to say, not what you think you should say. 3. Practice disappointing people. Start small. Say no to plans you don't want to make. Don't over-explain. Don't apologize for having needs. Just let someone be disappointed in you without making it your crisis to manage. It will feel terrible at first, like you're doing something wrong, like you're being selfish. That discomfort, that's your old programming dying. Let it. 4. Get comfortable with people misunderstanding you. Not everyone will celebrate your growth. Some people benefited from your smallness. They'll call your boundaries mean. They'll say you've changed, and they won't mean it as a compliment. Let them be wrong about you. Their perception is not your responsibility. 5. Fill your own cup first. Stop waiting for other people to energize you. Stop outsourcing your happiness to friendships that require you to perform. Find what lights you up alone and do more of that. Because when you're genuinely full, you stop attracting people who are looking for someone to drain. Here's the truth they don't tell you in self-help books. You will lose people when you start honoring yourself. Some friendships won't survive your evolution. Some people will choose to see your growth as rejection rather than invitation, and it will hurt. It will feel lonely. There will be moments where you question if you're doing the right thing, if maybe you're being too extreme, if maybe the old way was easier. But easier isn't better. Comfortable isn't healthy. And staying small to keep people around isn't love, it's self-abandonment. The right people, the ones who are meant for this version of you, they're coming. But they can't find you while you're still pretending to be someone else, while you're still dimming your light to make others comfortable. So stop shrinking. Stop apologizing for taking up space. Stop making your peace negotiable. Your energy is sacred. Your boundaries are holy. Your presence is a gift. This journey of reclaiming your energy isn't always easy, but it is the most liberating path you'll ever take. Remember, your peace is sacred, and your worth is non-negotiable. If you're ready to continue building a life filled with authentic connections and unwavering self-respect, make sure to subscribe and join our community. And tell me in the comments, what's one boundary you're ready to set today? Let's rise together. And anyone who makes you feel otherwise, they were never your friend to begin with. They were just a teacher, showing you exactly what you'll no longer tolerate.